Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Big Talk Pigskin. I am your host, Bowden, and I am joined by a new co host, special guest appearance, my friend Korbin. Korbin, tell the viewers about yourself.
How we doing? I was going to say I was I was super excited for the opportunity to hop on here. I was going to say I like to think I've sort of cemented myself as like a quote unquote Big Ten guy. Growing up here in Columbus, Ohio, again, so I've sort of got my Buckeye roots there, but by no means my Buckeye fan by any stretch of the imagination. Grew up a Michigan fan, and fortunately, my legs brought me to the Pennsylvania State University, where I was fortunate enough to run on the track team there for 10 years. Ended up as an All-American and also a Big Ten champion in the 4x4 meter relay. So had my fun there and got my Big Ten background there. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Big Ten guy. He knows Big Ten things. Trust me.
Through.
Through and through, 100%. Today, we'll be going over the James Madison versus Oregon first round playoff game coming up here Saturday. And then we'll be talking a little bit into that Michigan coaching search that we kind of didn't get much into, me and Sam, on Monday. So when it comes to this James Madison Oregon game here, Korbin, I know I'm really liking Oregon, obviously, overall. They're a bigger team. I think most people know James Madison doesn't have much of a chance here. But I'm liking Alonzo Barnett the third, James Madison's quarterback. That's a guy who's going to come in and do some stuff, and that's I think the guy to kind of look at for James Madison for if they are to have a chance in this game.
Yeah. I mean, I think another big thing sort of going in James Madison's favor too is their run game. That's been one of their strong suits throughout this year, and I know we're not going to get to touch on. I think of the two sort of at-large bids that we will receive this year through JMU and Tulane. I do think that this game is going to be a little bit more of the uglier ones. I'll keep my hot takes for the Tulane game to myself here, I guess, for now. But I think that game's going to be a heck of a lot closer than this game is going to be. So it'll be interesting to see it play out. I'm not going to lie to you. I do think that Oregon, all in all, will probably be a much stronger force to be reckoned with. And I hope to not see the huge talent discrepancy here. And I think the transfer portal has done a lot for that to sort of shrink that gap in between the two. But it'll be interesting to see. I do think that we could be looking at two completely separate, different entities on the football field, though. We'll see, though.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, we're not really going to touch on that Tulane. They're playing Ole Miss.
Right.
Ole Miss, obviously, without Lane Kiffin, it's going to make that game a little bit closer than we thought.
Yeah.
And they played earlier in the season, but this game will be closer. I've said a million times, it's hard to beat somebody twice. It is. Right. So I don't think Ole Miss will have a problem, but we'll see what happens when that one plays out. But like we said, we're going to stick over here to this James Madison, Oregon.
Absolutely.
Now you are right. James Madison, great rushing attack. They have 37 rushing touchdowns on the year. Impressive. That's a lot. But you got to think Oregon over here has one of the better rushing defenses in the nation. They're very good at stopping that. Their defense overall is really good, and they're going to do everything they can to limit that run game and force them to pass. Now, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing for James Madison. They have a pretty good quarterback, solid, 193 for 322 this year, 2,533 yards, 21 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So a really good ratio there, but they kind of want to lean more towards that run game. They know they're more dominant there.
And I was going to say, not to cut you off, I was going to say, but just to your point, I think one way JMU is going to be able to stay in this game is really hitting home, like on those big home run plays, right? In the trenches, so to speak. I don't think I think Oregon sort of obviously has an upper hand here when it comes to the big boys, right? Now, another thing that sort of hurts JMU is Oregon has done a fantastic job this entire season at limiting the big play, and their defense specifically. I was going to say one of their specialties has been sort of limiting plays over 50 yards this season. So it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to keep a cap on JMU. And again, like what we said, JMU is definitely going to lean into more of that rushing because it's what's been their strong suit this year. So it's really going to be interesting to see how Oregon's front holds up against them.
Yeah, and Oregon doesn't let up those big plays. I mean,
Right.
even Indiana, the number one team in the nation, they only lost by 10. They did lose at home, which you don't expect that out of Oregon very often. But then you also look back at that USC game; they won 42-27. USC is a big play team, and they didn't let that happen. Like Oregon did not let them do that, which is James Madison's. They're just going to have to put drives together. They can't rely on having, okay, yeah, we're good. We can't get a drive going though. Not more than 2 first downs. We need one big play to open up. You can't rely on it. It won't happen against this Oregon team.
Right. No, and I completely agree. I mean, this is a game where I think if you find yourself, I think if JMU finds himself down early in that first half, this is something that we could just run away. I don't know that we necessarily discuss spreads or overs on this show. But I think this is a game where, I think this could be an Oregon runaway. I think at least my gut. That's kind of how I'm feeling with this, and it's cool because this is a Cinderella story, and I think it's great for the game that we're getting JMU into this, like into the tournament period. I think another hot topic and kind of a domino effect that JMU kind of had on this, the whole scene really is, Notre Dame getting snubbed, right? I think we were sitting there together when they were pulling off the names, or maybe I was with another one of our friends, but sitting there when the names are getting pulled off, and I'm sitting there and I'm saying, "Oh, Miami got in." And again, I'm trying not to stray away from our Big Ten here, but kind of excuse me, not this game, but you kind of sit there and it's like, "Oh, Miami got in." Well, Notre Dame getting snubbed, and then this is kind of a domino that kind of led to it as well, because JMU loses their conference championship, and that's another thing that you kind of have to lean into too. Is JMU is so hot right now? It's 11 games straight.
I believe 10.
10 games. They lost to Louisville by 14 early on, and that's a good Louisville team too. That's a team that we saw beat Miami, and so
it was a playoff team.
Yeah, right. Who is a playoff team, and snuck in there at the end to make it in over Notre Dame, but. It is interesting how all the chips kind of fell and how all of these playoff matches kind of shook up and the exciting matches that we've kind of been dealt.
Yeah, and Oregon, kind of pulls a pretty good bid here, getting James Madison right away. This is a lot better for them than last year was. They were the 1 seed, get the bye, and then after they get that bye, they get matched up with Ohio State again. It's hard to beat someone twice, and they get burnt. They don't have a chance to win. Now, Oregon, after this game, they go on to play Texas Tech, assuming they win. That's a very strong team there as well.
Right.
And obviously I'm a Big Ten guy. I'm cheering for a Big Ten team to win the national championship.
Absolutely.
But I think Texas Tech, honestly, has a very, very good chance at winning it.
Oh, yeah.
They're a team I'm very.
I know they're a team. They're a team me and you have watched pretty closely this year.
Yes.
We've quote unquote called them the college football bullies because that's exactly what they do. When they get up, they don't quit. You know what I mean? And so they've been a super fun team to watch, and I think that would be an absolutely exhilarating matchup. Not to look past JMU here because again, like what I said, there is a little bit of that Cinderella story. I never want to. I'm always going to root for the underdog here, and in JMU, there is definitely part of me that's saying, man, what if they pulled off something crazy? But what does that look like, right? That's going to have to be a 10-13 game or something, something along the lines of that, like some heroic feat, or JMU again, like what we said is, maybe keeping Oregon on their heels, or catching them, uncharacteristically, of what we've seen of Oregon this whole season. So I don't know again, but I would love to see that matchup between Texas Tech and Oregon. That would be an absolutely awesome matchup, and I think for a semifinal, that would be super cool to see. But
quarter.
Or that would be a quarterfinal. Yeah, quarterfinal.
That would be the quarterfinal. Yeah. And that would, again, that's going to be a great matchup, assuming that's what ends up happening here. Obviously, yeah, you're right. You cannot look past a team if you're Oregon and you're looking at, hey, we're going to prepare for Texas Tech, and we're not like James Madison's whatever, we'll prep a little bit, but we're going to focus more on Texas Tech the following week, you will lose.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
just how it works. You can't overlook. We've seen this happen.
Yeah,
Notre Dame last year, regular season, lose to Northern Illinois. Should have never happened.
Yeah,
should have never happened.
And it's one of those things, and they turn around and end up being a really good team that season. And people, I hear a lot of Ohio State fans here. They kind of say the same thing happened with Michigan last year, where it was not necessarily a team you overlooked, but that Michigan team had no business beating Ohio State last year. And I say that as a diehard Michigan fan. But it kind of kicks that team into hyperdrive. You know what I mean? And it turns their entire season around. They end up winning the national championship. But you have those sort of things, and with this new playoff model, there are teams that really don't really get that luxury, right? And if the chips fell different, then JMU wouldn't have even gotten a shot like in this playoff, right? And so it is just interesting how the chess pieces are moving in college football, because it is chess pieces, And the reason I say it's chess pieces and not checkers is because in checkers every piece is equal, right? The pieces in college football, right? They're not equal. You know what I mean? They're and again, like what we say, we want to stay on the topic of the Big Ten, but even looking over on that SEC side and seeing those two SEC matchups, or the matchup in between Alabama and Oklahoma. How does Alabama lose a conference championship and not move an inch? But BYU loses to one of the best teams in the nation, like I said, Texas Tech. There's some bullies, and they're dropping out, and so it'll be interesting to see how the college football landscape continues to evolve. And I'm sure that the Big Ten and the SEC will both have pivotal roles, or humongous roles in the changes that are inevitable. So it'll be interesting to see for sure. But to get back to the game,
Yeah, I am 100%. The Big Ten, the SEC run college football. Let's be honest. Yeah. And lately, it's been the Big Ten. It has. We saw. Michigan won 2024, 2023.
We're on a run.
23-24, and then Ohio State won 24-25 last year. And again, this was a Cinderella story for James Madison to even make it in.
Yeah.
Virginia loses to Duke in overtime. Should have never happened. Really shouldn't have. I don't know why Virginia struggled so hard, but it's hard to beat a team twice. I echo this a lot because we've had so many rematches this season. Like Oregon would be playing Tulane instead of James Madison, and I think that'd be a harder game for them. They shook out very well, because otherwise we'd have Virginia at the 11 playing Ole Miss. Or maybe they'd be at the 10 and Miami would be at the 11. Virginia, maybe it'd be that way.
And that's what sucks, is because that, I think, was another like super, super big Cinderella this year that we got to watch, and it was really cool for Virginia, right?
Yeah.
I think this season especially, and really it's been the last two seasons, all across college football, we've seen teams that have been perennial just gutter teams, essentially. You know what I mean? You look at Indiana, like us growing up, that's a joke. You know what I mean? You being an Iowa, me being a Michigan fan, I remember us growing up being like, oh, it's Indiana week. Hey, are we going to beat them by 21 or 28? You know what I mean? And now like, this gutter of a program has turned it around, right? Completely. Like, and I think a lot of it has to do with Signetti. It took a really special coach to go into a place that was in shambles and turn it around that way. But even Vanderbilt, right? What they've built and turned around over there, I think that's really cool. I think another team to watch out for, Virginia Tech. I think they're on the come around with James Franklin. I think that's going to be cool for them. But another like what I said with Virginia, that's another team where it was like, man, that team is a gutter team, and they've really turned around. So it was cool to see. But yeah, they just fallen short barely. Again, all part of the dominoes of how the season shook out, and how we got into this spot here.
Yeah. Definitely. And that's kind of the thing, as like seeing one of those teams like Indiana now being kind of dumpster fire our whole lives now is really, really good because of Signetti and the culture he's been able to build, and the players he's been able to bring in, just develop, whether he developed them at James Madison, brought them with him, or now the guys he's kind of gotten in the portal the past couple of years over at Indiana. As an Iowa fan, it makes it very hard for me to want them to win the national championship.
Yeah.
I want them to, because like it would be cool to see an underdog. The SEC fans would be horrified if they were to go and win a national championship. As an Iowa fan, I sit here and go, my whole life we've been better than them, except the past 2 years. Every other year, we are better. We are a better team. And
Look,
we've had the opportunities to get there and haven't been able to get it done, but they can do it with a new coach in 2 years and go win a natty. I'm going to be upset. I will be upset, but I like them, and I really like Signetti. He's a really good dude.
And that's the importance of and this is where my team finds themselves now, right? This is the importance of finding the right guy, because you have a guy like Signetti. You go in, and if you really look at it, his ripple effect right now has 2 teams in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, he's 2 years removed from a group of 5, or you can say group of 6, or however whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? A mid-major program that has continued the success even after him leaving, and so it's really cool to see. And I wonder if, I know he's obviously part of the Saban tree, so I wonder if we'll see somewhat of a Signetti tree sort of thing, like as he coaches. And maybe maybe that's talking hyperbolic, right? Like, maybe he's really fortunate
it's early
in the position that he's in, right? But I really do think he's building something really cool over there in Indiana, and it's unfortunate to see as a Michigan fan, right? Because I'm looking at you too, and I'm like, hey, we are in turmoil right now, right? We're not in a great spot, period. As like a organization, basically an organization. You want to say university, but really it is organizations now. But yeah, like it's not a great spot, to be in. And you look across state lines and see that your rivals are kicking it. It's not a great feeling,
No, definitely not. And we kind of strayed away here from that James Madison Oregon game.
I'm sorry.
It definitely happens. We stray away from things a lot over here. Look, I mean, I just want to kind of go back to it, hit on it, because you're bringing up some great points about getting the right guy in, and that makes me want to go and kind of get on to our Michigan thing here. So yeah, just kind of final thoughts for me on this James Madison Oregon game. James Madison has to do a lot of things right, has to play perfect defense, and has to find holes in Oregon's defense that doesn't have many holes. They have to find a way to get through those to score. I don't think that's going to be great for them. I think Oregon probably wins this game 42-14, something in that realm.
I'd agree. I'd completely agree. I think right now they're sitting as 21-point favorites. So, I mean, if Indiana, or excuse me, if JMU were to cover, I think it'd be very impressive, and that's a big win for them. Again, the only way I see them really like keeping this close is we're talking a low scoring slugfest, and I'm not sure what the weather's supposed to be in Oregon, but I'm not really.
I'm not sure.
I'm really not sure it's going to matter. Honestly, for them. Again, this is a somewhat of a David versus Goliath sort of situation.
Yeah, so, David versus Goliath, and got to go a long way.
Yeah,
got to travel all the way to Oregon from Virginia. So
it's the truth. That is the truth. So
yeah, Oregon big, and so now transitioning over into your guys over here, Michigan. Obviously, Sharon Moore had some stuff going on, fired. That's all we're really going to say about that kind of situation. Everybody knows the story by now. But there's a lot of names circling here. Like Kalen DeBoer went out immediately, which didn't make any sense to me, and that's kind of been put to rest already.
Yeah.
I don't think that one made sense, but there are some big names that
I won't kill not to cut you off again. I apologize. I was going to say the only thing I'll say about the Kalen DeBoer thing is if he loses to Oklahoma on Friday, there's a much higher, I think, possibility that maybe he's still in. Do I want Kalen DeBoer, though, as a Michigan fan? No, I do not.
No.
Yeah.
No. If he was to take that, yes, obviously he'd have to lose that game against Oklahoma, and I think it would have to be kind of a statement loss.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Like if he loses by a field goal or a touchdown, I don't think that changes a factor. They get boat raced. If they're losing by 3 scores, 17 points or more, I could very well see them going, this isn't worth it. But let me get an easier path.
But the thing is even as a Michigan fan, I don't know that you sit there and you're like, oh, awesome, this guy couldn't handle the heat at Bama. Now you have to handle the heat at Michigan, right? Like that. Like you're really trading. I don't want to say apples for apples. It's definitely not, but it's a similar like tier job, right? You know what I mean? And if this job is available when the coaching cycle begins, we may not be having this conversation right now. You know, there were some big names. Now, I'm not going to say that Lane Kiffin would have gone to Michigan. I think he's an SEC guy. I do, but I wouldn't say that he wouldn't have gotten a phone call, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's a conversation to be had too. So I mean, but there are for the unfortunate situation that Michigan is in. And when I first heard about the news, we were sitting there at work together, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" I was like, "They've got a plan." I was like, "Whoever they've got, this is awesome because it's probably someone that no one expected." Like that was what I initially thought, and then obviously what came out, and then it's very different circumstances, and it's unfortunate, and it's kind of dire straits here for Michigan because this is definitely not something that they were planning for by any means.
No, not at all. And we were together when that news kind of broke, and I remember me and you especially were talking Dabo Swinney.
Yep.
Thinking, oh, maybe it's Dabo, and obviously, we find out everything that actually happened. They don't have a plan going forward. That's kind of how we were thinking of is, they have a guy already.
Yep.
Nope. But I still think they should be hammering in on Dabo Swinney. I don't think they'll get Dabo. In my mind, if I was a Michigan fan, I would want us to fight tooth and nail to get him because there's turmoil at Clemson. We all know.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been going on this year because of the way last year kind of ended and then going into this year, barely making a bowl game. I mean, they're playing Penn State in the disappointment bowl.
Right.
That's kind of what I'm calling it. Like it's two absolutely disappointing teams from this season playing each other. I'd really want to try and get him despite his lack of portal usage.
Well, and that's right. And that's the only thing I really was going to hit on. Like, I think I had like 3 like Hail Mary picks, and then I had 3 realistic picks for coaches. When I first heard the news, and Dabo was one guy that I said, and my hesitation with him is the portal aggression, like what you said. And, I think at Michigan, I do think it's a pro style offense. No one's going to be able to go in there and say, hey, we're going to air raid. Rich Rodriguez attempted that, and it failed like horribly, right? Now, it's not to say that it couldn't be attempted, but I just think the Michigan men mentality, you know what I mean? That's what they're looking for, right? So in my head, I said Dabo. I think he's a South guy, though. I do. I think his next job will probably be an SEC job, or it'll be, God forbid, a mid-major Sun Belt or something. I think he's going to be with Clemson for a little bit, or at least I hope so. Maybe he retires there. But Dabo was definitely one of them. Another guy was John Gruden. I know. Obviously, he was getting a lot of buzz for NFL jobs, and I'm not sure the stipulations that's there between like if he can actually get NFL jobs. Yeah, I'm not sure. And obviously, there's some turmoil there and stuff too. But that he was a name that I thought maybe that'd be really cool. I know he got some nods for SEC jobs too. And then the last person who was my Hail Mary pick, it was John Gruden, Dabo Swinney, and I'm not sure. I'm drawing a blank right now. I was going to say on my third, but I was going to say, do you want to get into who do you think realistically?
Realistically, I think there's 3 big names that are the most realistic here. I'm going to start with my least realistic of those, with Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator. I don't. Defense coordinator for the Chargers, with Jim Harbaugh. I just personally think it's a bad idea to go with anybody related to Harbaugh at this point. I think it's time to just kind of break ties with that itself, just with everything that's gone on since he's.
I don't hate that sentiment.
And then also he still has his show cause penalty with the NCAA from all of that scandal. Yeah. So he's going to have to go through a bunch of hoops and barrels to even be allowed to coach the first year. He might have to sit, and then it's like, why are we hiring a guy to not be able to even coach at games for a season or 2, or not know if we're going to get approved? I think it's a bad idea to go for him unless you can get that cleared before hiring him. That just won't happen. My other guys, these 2 are kind of equal in my opinion. Jedd Fisch, Kenny Dillingham. Jedd Fisch from Washington. Kenny Dillingham is Arizona State.
Yep.
Me personally, if I am a Michigan person who works for Michigan at the athletic department, if I'm a Michigan fan, if I'm a player, I want Kenny Dillingham over Jed Fish. I like Jed Fish. He does have some Michigan tie. Obviously, he was there with Harbaugh for a bit, but it was a while ago.
Before all the
separate from all the scandals, so I don't think it's a bad idea there. I just personally, and I like him at Washington. I like him. I'd want Kenny Dillingham. What he's built at Arizona State these past 2 years has been really good, a lot of fun. They had a little bit of a disappointing end this year. He's a young guy with a lot of upside, and I think that's kind of what you want to look for as a long-term guy.
I mean, and I think for Michigan, I think you're in a struggle because, and I agree. I really like Kenny Dillingham. I think he's my first phone call too, and I do think that they are hammering his phones as we speak. Probably, I saw a recent interview where there was kind of some suspect things that he was kind of playing into, and in the sense of where he almost sounded like he felt like he was leaving, and maybe I'm reading into that incorrectly. Jed Fish, I don't hate that selection either. I really don't. The problem, my thing that I think that they're going to continue, and when I say they, I mean the Michigan, whoever is designating this coach search, because I'm not sure that it's our athletic director due to all the things that are going on now. I'm not sure. So I'm sure that there's some board right now that's looking at all these names. And one thing that they're always going to continue to go back to is he a Michigan man? Is he a Michigan man? Right.
True.
And so this is a hard thing because, the importance of being able to recruit the Midwest, right? You have to be able to recruit the Midwest if you're a Michigan coach, right? And Sharon Moore did that very well, right? And so that's something that you can knock him on a lot of things, but you can't knock him on that, right? Like he did it. He did a very good job. And a name that I saw that came up that honestly sent shivers down my spine is Brian Kelly, right?
Yeah,
he has those Midwest ties. Grand Valley State, he was there. He did all those good things there, and
Notre Dame for so long. That's right there as well. Right?
And so there's that too. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think that Michigan is a good spot. Is a good job. Period. Right. The amount of resources you get. But I don't know that it's a good enough spot to peel some of these marquee coaches away from their jobs right now. I saw Mike Elo, right? Right. I saw his name was thrown around a little bit. I don't know that it's that enticing. What he's doing at Texas A&M is so impressive too, because that's another program where it was like, Marcus Freeman, the same thing. I think Ryan Day was on the hot seat there last year after losing to Michigan, right? And I thought to myself, I said, you know what? If they were to had fired Ryan Day, I think that Marcus Freeman would have definitely gotten the nod, like without a doubt.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Because he's a Buckeye there, and so
right.
I personally don't think he would have been. He would even consider Michigan either. Because what are you getting at Michigan that you're not getting at Notre Dame?
Exactly.
Nothing. You know what I mean? Nothing.
You might be getting more. Notre Dame.
Honestly. Another name that I've kind of seen, just also hitting back on the NFL guys, Joe Brady. I've seen him get thrown around too. It's right now I think we're just in a spot where there's no home runs, in my opinion. There's not. There's no one where in my honest opinion, I think Kenny Dillingham, right? I think that's I'm sleeping okay at night. I'm sleeping okay at night. Who's the Missouri coach? I've heard.
Oh, Eli Drinkwitz.
Yep.
He won't.
I don't.
They're too good in the SEC. They're a solid squad. They had playoff chances this year.
I do think. I think Missouri to Michigan is an upgrade.
I don't disagree, but you can make Missouri into that quality of a program, being in that conference. If Missouri was a Big 12 team, I wouldn't say that. Being in the SEC, if you can get to a point where you're consistently only losing one game, then you're a powerhouse in the SEC.
I would agree with that.
Or maybe three. Lost 2 or 3 this year. Last year, the same story. These are guys who are right on the edge. All they have to do is just improve a little bit year by year, and eventually they could be an SEC powerhouse. Think Saban, before he got to Alabama, they had been in 15 years of turmoil and being god awful. His first season, they either barely made a bowl game or just missed one. Mm-hmm. And then after that, he started winning championships. It just takes time. obviously he did it really quick, but he turned a team who was in the bottom tier of the SEC right on top and never really left the top 2 spots in the conference his entire time.
Saban is, one of one though,
Right,
and
right. But I'm saying Eli could get his team to be in a position where, hey, we're in the top 4 of the conference every year. Sometimes we're going to make the SEC championship and make it to the playoffs. Sometimes we're not. I mean, even Kirby Smart kind of did that too, where he was at a point. It took him a while to build Georgia up, and then he started winning championship after championship after championship. Eli might be on that same path.
Maybe, yeah, potentially. But I mean, you got to get there, right? And
You
so
do.
that's one of those things. And maybe I am not a firm believer that the SEC is a better conference than the Big Ten. I do think that the top now I think it fluctuates year to year, right?
100%.
But I would say, it would be interesting to see, right? A coach is the if the players are the harder, the coach is imperative to the entire like operation. You can have the best players in the world, but if you don't have a good leader, it's like it's for nothing, right? And so it's very important what Michigan does here, because I think you could find us on a big backslide here, where all this momentum we've built in this decade, really. You know what I mean? Like this entire decade we've really been stacking, and obviously the national championship in 23, and you don't want to fall back into oblivion, right? Don't be that team that, hey, we're going to pop out every 22 years and we're going to win a national championship. Find a little
be in contention.
Yeah,
try to be in contention. Yeah, and that's why I think Kenny Dillingham or Jed Fish is your best option. I personally would want Kenny Dillingham. I wouldn't be upset with Jed Fish. I'm very interested to see where this goes and kind of when this happens. Is it going to be after these bowl games are played with Arizona State or Washington? Which Washington, I mean, they already played. So are we going to see Jed Fish come forward here soon because they just finished this game, and see, is that going to happen, or is that not going to happen? Now we're going, all right, Kenny Dillingham, once you're done with Arizona State, let's your bowl game. Let's see.
Who's Arizona State playing in their bowl game?
That is a great question. I know it's a good game.
Yeah.
I will find it. I'm just not 100% confident.
Yeah, sorry to put you on the spot. No, I didn't mean to. But like even the interim right now, Biff Poggi, right?
Yeah, he played. He was earlier this season. He did that.
Yeah, exactly. And
he won games.
And he did. And so I don't think that it's going to be another internal hire. I don't think Michigan is.
No.
I think that was tried, and I think
it didn't work.
It didn't work out, and I think the wound is a little too fresh to be attempting it again. So I think, it's going to be a rebuild. You're going to kind of have to build it. You're going to kind of have to build it from the ground up. Now, how many pieces we get to keep from, basically that national championship run, right? Because the roster we have now, right? There is sort of that foundation, and the recruiting classes and stuff like that. You continue that, and so we'll see. Like, I know we've already seen a couple athletes from this cycle, decommit, and it'll be interesting to see if Bryce Underwood goes, and if how that is going to change everything too, because you'd like to think the coach that you get, him being good enough, probably bring some players with him, right?
Right.
And so, what's funny enough, that a coach like that, I know me and you kind of joke about it, Eli, Dirkwitz, right? Missouri leaving. Could you imagine if, he brings his starting quarterback, right?
Yeah, and Bo hit the transfer portal today.
He's in the portal
or yesterday. So yeah, he's there. He's out in the portal, or at least announced he would be going. Portal isn't open for like a month or a couple weeks. I guess it's closer than that now. But yeah, he's there. So maybe he's coming along with Eli, if Eli's the guy.
Right. And I always said at my time at Penn State, I swore up and down that he was a better quarterback than Drew Aller.
That is true.
And I think it will come to fruition. And I think that's going to be something cool for us to watch out too. Obviously, he was Big Ten quarterback, now not anymore. What goes down with Drew Aller, right? That's going to be an interesting thing. I know we're getting down towards the end here, so I'm just getting some of my thoughts out here. But it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. Yeah.
Very interesting. And I just wanted to say Arizona State plays Duke in the Sun Bowl, so they have the ACC champions. who knows how that game will go? We don't really need to get into that, but that'll be a fun one to watch. They're both very evenly matched teams, and Arizona State will be without Sam Leavitt, which is also kind of one of my things. You go, their quarterback Sam Leavitt is announced he'll be in the portal. He's not even playing in the bowl game. If Kenny goes, does Sam come with him to Michigan? I would be in favor of that. And if Bryce Underwood is like, I'm going to leave because of the coach. Now, if Bryce isn't going to leave, don't bring in this guy, because you're not going to, if you don't play one of them, there's no benefit to have both of them there to battle. There really isn't. But you either need to let Bryce develop.
Bryce didn't prove himself this year, though. And to be fair, he was an 18-year-old, right?
Right. And you got to either let him develop and come in, or you bring in a transfer quarterback who's a senior in his last year and you go, hey, you got an option to either sit behind him and learn after starting last year, or you can leave. That's kind of the only things you can do if you bring him in. Or you just say, hey, Bryce, you played one season. We're going to develop you over the off season, and then next year you will be better.
And Michigan has found themselves in these cycles, like with quarterbacks too, right? Where J.J. McCarthy, it was the same thing. We propelled him to the starting role as a freshman, essentially. I believe he was maybe a sophomore, redshirt freshman when he was split time with Cade McNamara.
And then Cade got hurt.
Right? And then
Cade was playing better.
Right, but I'm saying in the end, JJ was a better.
Yes, 100%.
But like that's it. We are finding ourselves in these positions again where I'm blanking on his name right now, but Michigan's backup quarterback, former 5-star Jaden. I'm not sure, but he's in the portal now, right? And so you keep finding yourself in these trends where it's like, oh, awesome, we're going all in on this freshman quarterback. We're going all in on this quarterback, and we're basically throwing caution to the wind at our depth. Was Bryce Underwood so good that he jumped the depth chart that much? Apparently, right? Apparently, but it just begs the question where it's like, are we putting ourselves in the most advantageous situations? And I think a good head coach hire will hopefully guide us in the correct direction.
Should fix it. Yeah. It should help guide it in the right direction. And, and we'll kind of start wrapping this up, but Sharon Moore didn't really have any head coaching experience up until getting put into that role. He didn't get to go somewhere smaller. And if you hire someone here, you're going to have someone who understands more how to manage it than Sharon did. Not saying he did a bad job, but somebody who knows even more how to do it with longer experience, such as Jed Fish or Kenny Dillingham, if those are the guys who I personally believe it's going to be one of them.
I really hope. Final hopes, realistic hope. I hope it's Kenny. I think it would be cool if we got blindsided though, like the same way kind of Harbaugh was a blindside in 2015 or 2016. That would be really cool if we got a just sort of a random blindside. I think maybe that's what the program needs. I think that'd be cool, but we'll see. Kenny would be cool. But.
Yeah, and I think Kenny's the guy. But that about sums it up for us today, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Join us back over on Monday. Monday, we'll have our recap of this game. There's a bunch of games that start up next week, during the week and weekend, so we'll have a lot to talk about for you guys. But, yeah, thank you guys for joining in, and tune back in with us, and see you guys all later.